Hey guys, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today I want to talk about the next president of the United States, soon to be elected later this year, because that individual could possibly destroy social media platforms as we know it. Now, here's what's going on. We don't know who the next president's going to be. President Trump may be reelected. We may get a new contender that comes in, let's say from the Democrats, or maybe even another Republican that wins the election. And so we can't be 100% certain who's going to be the next president. And I'm sure all of you have opinions on it for whoever you are supporting. But we really don't know until the end of that day. But we need to discuss Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which was passed in 1996. Now, if you're not familiar with this, I'm going to give this to you in a nutshell. Section 230 says, and I quote, "No provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as the publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider." In other words, online intermediaries that host or republish speech are protected basically against just a whole range of laws that might otherwise be used to hold them legally responsible for what others say and do. The protected intermediaries include not only our internet service providers that give us an internet connection, but also a range of interactive computer service providers, basically including any online service that publishes third-party content. There are important exceptions to this, such as criminal or intellectual property theft claims, but this this Decency Act, Section 230, creates a broad protection that allows for innovation and free speech and all of that. So in other words, if you are putting your thoughts out on Facebook, Facebook is not being held legally liable if you are saying something that potentially could get you into legal trouble. So in other words, if you're getting sued or criminal violation, hey everybody, I just robbed a bank, haha, Facebook is not basically held responsible for your actions or your words on their platform. Many of the candidates for president, though, are not a fan of this. So, for example, and this is the most recent example, former Vice President Joe Biden has actually called for a repeal of Section 230. In an interview with the New York Times editorial board, as the editorial board is vetting all of the candidates for endorsement, Biden said companies should be responsible for libel on their platforms. He specifically went after Facebook, the largest social media platform on the planet, and Mark Zuckerberg, the founder and CEO. And to quote the former vice president, "It is propagating falsehoods they know to be false. You guys still have editors," meaning the New York Times. "I'm sitting with them, not a joke. There is no editorial impact at all on Facebook. None whatsoever. It's irresponsible." Now, other candidates, especially on the Democrat side, have come out against this recently. Amy Klobuchar, Elizabeth Warren, and others. And there are two core arguments here that we need to understand about Section 230, whether we repeal it or not. Repealing this, for the first argument, could basically be seen as an impact on free speech. Now, because Facebook would then have to take the responsibility for what people post. And so when you have, let's say, somebody that could be held potentially criminally liable for something they put out on Facebook, let's say it is something that would get them thrown into jail, something like, bad content or all of that, Facebook now has that liability, which means their content moderation has to really be turned up to make sure that they are catching these things left and right. The one I can think of off the top of my head is New Zealand in the last year or so had a very unfortunate mass shooting where the mass shooter decided to stream that live on Facebook as he was perpetrating that horrible crime. Facebook would then be held responsible under U.S. law if the same thing happened here. And we've seen other horrible live streaming videos that have occasionally popped up in the news. Now, the flip side to this argument is that if we were actually able to repeal this, it would kill factually incorrect posts and help police disinformation campaigns that could falsely sway an electorate. if Facebook had to actually step up and become the editorial board, if you will, for anybody that is posting, that might be better at stopping disinformation campaigns or blatantly false information that is being put out there. But the issue that people have is then at Facebook's discretion. Aside from the hard legal lines of posting something like intellectual property theft or something to do with, let's say, children that would be illegal, Facebook would then have to go in and basically say this is false or we are removing this. Facebook has a stance on political ads, for example, that basically allows any candidate to go ahead and post whatever they want, even if it's blatantly false. Facebook is not policing that, and they are also not liable for that because of Section 230. So I'll leave it to you, and I'm asking all of you the question, should we repeal 230 and hold Facebook liable, understanding that that may quash free speech or free expression if Facebook, let's say, morally, ethically, or politically disagrees with it as a corporation, or do we keep it intact? Keep absolving Facebook and the other platforms of the world from any kind of liability, but then basically create a platform that would allow for the proliferation of blatantly false news, disinformation, etc. That's the question that we really have to answer, and I can see it from a potential presidential candidate's side, in the sense that if their opponents are not being policed on Facebook and they are literally posting lies about said candidate, that candidate would be very frustrated on that, and conversely that candidate could then do it to the others, which I think is obviously morally and ethically bad. So I leave it up to you. You guys let me know what you think, but that is your news of the day. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP, and please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, guys.